Students, the purpose of this short video is to show you my desktop there. It's to show you how you could be successful in this week's assignments and just do a little review quickly from last time. So each week I hope that you're clicking on your weekly assignments. I would say it's highly recommended that you do that at the beginning of the week as close to Wednesday as you can, so that you can get on and see how busy your week's going to be as far as the homework for this class. The next thing is you had a quiz this week. So you clicked on the quiz link, and I want to give you a big hint. If it does not say, look, it says you can open this quiz, save it, return it later. You can take this quiz as many times as you like. You need to read the instructions. The instructions were in the homework assignment, and they were included with the quiz itself. Each quiz that I use will tell you whether you can get back into it or you have to complete it when you first start it. So if I were you and I had a quiz that week, and I would at least get in and look at the quiz before I do all the assignments, so I kind of know what am I trying to do. And I'll try and give you those hints in the assignment documents as well. Okay, so this week you're going to construct a why diagram. And I have a few of those to show you. And it could be as simple as this. So here is student work that was submitted previously. And they did the why diagram or the tree diagram on something that happened to them, and they explained their tire blew out. So the key components I'm looking for with your assignment this week to receive the full 20 points are going to be, do you have somewhere where you make it obvious to me there was the problem, and somewhere in your document there should be the solution. The other thing I hope you've seen as you read the assignment document was that why diagram should logically progress to the next why. So I want to try that with a couple of these so that you can be able to check your own work excuse me, and hopefully get full credit. So why did the tire blow out? So remember, a why diagram or fishbone diagram should always start or have somewhere where it's very clear what the problem was. Why did the tire blow out? Because the tires were bald. Why are the tires bald? So does it progress logically to the next one? Yes, because I didn't get new tires. Why didn't I get new tires? Because I missed my appointment. Why did I miss my appointment? Because I woke up late. Why did I wake up late? Because I stayed out with friends. Now, if you get to the point where you keep saying, why did I stay out with friends? What you're trying to do is get to the point where you say, hey, I think I can identify what the key or root cause of the problem was. So now the student has put their solution. Go to bed earlier. Don't stay up late when she had appointments or errands that needed done before going back to work, and get tires before they go bald to be safe. So she actually had multiple issues that she identified as a result of her why diagram. But the things I hope you identify as being correct were, she went logically. This why question led logically to this why question, led logically to this why question, led logically to this one. Typically, you need 5 or more whys usually to get to the root cause. You may have 15 whys. So there's not a specific number of whys. However, it's usually thought that if you have less than 5, you haven't done enough digging. We're trying to identify all of the root causes. The next thing your chart should show, or your diagram, is the solution. Now, this student didn't do it as a chart, and this would be, if you truly just want to take the easy way out and do your why chart this way, that is acceptable this week. But part of my obligation as an educator is to teach you about the tools and how you might make these look more professional. So what I'm going to do next is show you a student who submitted this assignment. And let me get this turned, and it's kind of funky how I have to do this really quick, so I'm making you dizzy. All right, so what are the correct things that you see here? They clearly identified, and their chart started with their problem. They wake up tired each morning. And out to the side, they put their why question. So do you see how they're making it obvious to the reader where they're asking those questions and what the answer was? They asked the question, what's the answer? I asked the question, what's the answer? But notice how each one of these is specifically tied to the previous one. So they didn't sleep well, they didn't sleep well. It's hot, it's hot. The ventilation's poor, the ventilation's poor. You can check your diagram by making it very clear to you and to me that one question logically leads to the next one. And in fact, it usually includes the information from the answer to the previous question, just like this one does. So this is kind of a cute one. First, it was done very professionally looking. I bet all of us would feel comfortable if we were presenting to our department or our higher ups and we have a quality improvement issue that we've gone through root cause analysis. I think all of us would feel comfortable presenting if it looked like this. So you can read through this. Why is the ventilation poor? She identified the root causes. She kept the door closed. Then she continues. Why did she keep the door closed? And you can see that this person even threw in a little piece of creativity here, and that's not necessarily required or expected, but it lets me know a little bit about your personality too. So what did she identify as her root cause? It was because the cats were hungry. They kept scratching on her door. The door was closed because the cats come in and interrupt her. But ultimately, the cats were interrupting her regardless, and so the solution was feed the cats before she went to bed at night, and then they'd be happy. Okay, so now I have a third example that I'd like you to see. So the students started out with a good idea. They were going to use a nice chart. So they took the initiative not just to do the why questions, but to put them in some sort of chart that looks professional. The problem is, I want to know, is this the hard part? So going back to school will not be easy. Is that the problem? If it is, where's the solution? So there's no clearly identified solution, and that's a key piece of your analysis of root causes. What are you going to do about it? Maybe you just identify one cause, as this person's example showed, or you identified a couple of causes, as the one with the tire showed. She talked about not waiting until her tires were bald before she replaced them. Okay, this student, let's see what they did wrong. They seem to have maybe this is their problem and this is their solution. So let's see if we can figure some of this out. They didn't put their whys, and sometimes it is cleaner and nicer to include those whys because it makes it more logical. But let's look at this. The person says, I have a lot of expenses, basically. This looks like kind of an expense piece. And this looks like a time piece. So I bet all of you can relate to this, that you're working a lot. You have high credit hours maybe that you're enrolled in compared to the amount of hours that you're working. So this is a high credit load if you're working. They want a personal life, so they find that it's hard to find time to do everything. And then they might say, why? Do you see that you could start with easier why questions when you're learning this process? So I think you can look at this example and see that it was started out kind of with a good idea, but maybe the student tackled too much, and that is the reality of our problems that maybe take place in healthcare. But also sometimes we make them way bigger than they are. So what was the event or triggering situation that made us look at the problem? And then what were the why questions that led to it? So this student would have received a reduced grade because it was not clear to me logically what was your problem, what were the questions you asked to identify the root cause, and then when you identified the root cause or causes, what did you do to fix them? So great idea. They could see they had two kinds of issues, a time management piece and an expense piece. So they did split those into separate why areas. So why is it tough to pay for everything? I have a house payment. Why is it tough to pay for everything? I have a car payment. Why is it tough to pay for everything? I have everyday expenses. Their solution was have a roommate offset the cause. But do you see that every one of these, this was your problem. These are some of the whys. And this was a solution. So could you think of how they might have diagrammed it differently to receive full credit and to make it clear to someone looking at their work that they understood how a Y diagram worked? I have one more example here. And let me turn this one. All right, this is a respiratory care example, and for the most part, most of you are respiratory care providers, but there are some health science study students and some health informatics students in our class, and I hope that you always feel welcome. If it feels like I'm really emphasizing those respiratory topics, call me to task on it, but that is the focus of most of our students in the class. So for right now, I have a problem with an alarm going off on a ventilated patient, And the question is why. So why was the alarm going off? And this student, you can see they put their answers to the right of your screen. Their why questions are to the left. And this is one way to present it. It could have just as easily been that they put their why question here and put an answer here. So it's not so much the format as much as it is, does your chart look somewhat professional? Is it logically organized? And the key thing is, have you clearly stated the problem? Look at how this person made it very obvious what their problem is. Is it very obvious to the person looking at your work that you have a solution and that you've identified that? And then especially because we're dealing with why diagrams here, each why question should logically lead to the next one. So why was the alarm going off? They say because there was a leak. Why was there a leak? So do you see the pattern here on how one question logically leads to the other one? This is an example of good student work. So they had checked all these things, and they identified that the problem was the cuff of the endotracheal tube was deflating or deflated. And why was that? So they say, I put air into the cuff to try and seal it again, but it continued to leak over time. Why doesn't it hold pressure? They identified that the pilot line that goes to that endotracheal tube cuff was being blocked by the bite block, and that there was a little nick that happens, and I'll bet some of you can relate to this because I'll bet you might have had those bite blocks that wrap around those endotracheal tubes and cause the problem. But regardless of whether you understand all the intricacies of this problem, I think you can appreciate the process. Look how one question logically led to the answers and then the next question. And then clearly the student defines the solution here. And they had a couple of solutions that they identified similar to our first student example of how they would recommend fixing the problem. So I think you can realize that these diagrams could be multiple steps, or they may just be a straightforward one list of why questions. In your homework, or excuse me, in your assignment document this week, I show you a couple of ways that why diagrams might look. Some of those are fairly complex and some of them are very simple and straightforward. This week, simple and straightforward will be enough. The next thing I'd like to do is very quickly show you how you might, if you want to make that professional looking document, if you're using Word, insert those little things. So I'm going to tell the computer or the program that I want to insert. And I want to insert, if you have this version of Word, you may have an area called Smart Art. And look how easy it makes it for me. And I look at this and I say, what do I really want to do? I want to show a process. I want to show that one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing. So this looks like a format that might work, and I can make these bigger. Do you know that if you do Control+ on your keyboard, once I get out of this, if you do Control+ on your keyboard, it will make your screen bigger or smaller. And let me show you how we can do that. Look at that, huh? Control+ or Control-, I can make that bigger or smaller. When I'm in Word, I guess I can do it by doing View and Zoom. So it's not letting me just do it from my keyboard. But let me go back here. So we did Insert, and I did Smart Art. And I decided that the one that might work best, this looks really fancy. Look at that one. This one's pretty straightforward. For right now, I'm going to pick this one. So I'm going to get rid of that one because I, on accident, deleted it or added it. Oh, it's never as easy as it seems, is it? So, do you see that I could put in a question? I don't really have two text boxes that I'm going to fill up here. I could just use one of them. So I might say, why does Jody, or excuse me, let's do this. I don't know a problem that I can think of right off the top of my head. I guess that's a good thing. But you would put your problem here, your why question here. Your answer might go here, and then your next why question. So I can think of multiple ways that I could use this format. If another one made it better sense to use it. The other thing I could do if I have an older version of Word is I could do Insert Shapes. The problem with it is it's a little more complex. So I would put my shape in there, and then I would say, okay, now I want to insert an arrow. Whoops. So maybe I want to put an arrow next. So it makes it more cumbersome and a little more difficult if I have to do it that way. But those are some things to give it a try to make it look a little more professional. And I'm sure on Mac systems there's something similar. The last thing I need to show you is I need you to save your file as either a Word, so that's a piece of cake if you're in Word, but if you're not, or a PDF file. So typically you'll have some sort of place where you can do a save as. I could choose to save this Word document. You see all your assignments out there. I could choose to save this Word document as a PDF file. So save it as a Word or a PDF file. Now I've saved that, let's say, and I need to submit it. So I'm going to go into Blackboard, and because I haven't made your weekly assignment available yet, I'm going to have to click a little different screen. So pretend you didn't see that. That was like looking behind the curtain at the Wizard of Oz and all those controls. So the instructor screens look a little bit different. But I'm going here to this week 3 assignment folder, and there's a submission link. So I'm going to click on that YY diagram. This is where I'm going to attach my file to submit to that nice instructor, Jody Lester. I'm going to do browse my computer. I'm going to have put that in a place like my desktop or in my folder that keeps my quality improvement documents. And I've saved it as my name, my first name, my last name, and the assignment. So Y diagram. And then I attach that and I say submit. You could put some comments, but generally those aren't required. You don't have to say, can you please tell me if you got my document or not, because you'll be able to click on check your grades, and if you submitted that, ooh, you'll be able to see those. Good. I was going to say, oh, that's all I need is all your grades popping up there for everyone to see, but as long as I did it that way, it shows, hey, I'm not a user in the class, I'm not graded on assignment, so I don't have that, but you would be able to do that and at least see that your assignment was submitted. Okay, and then when I've graded it, by clicking on check your grades, you'll be able to see feedback that I've given you beside your assignment, and when I make that quiz open, you'll be able to click on your quiz score and be able to get back into the quiz to see why you missed what you missed or what you guessed right on. And so that will be a helpful tool, is this check your grades button. I hope these things have helped. If you have questions, please post those on the discussion board right here. Each week I'll try and put a little link that if you have questions, you can post those. The other thing I've done this week is put you into smaller groups for your discussion board, so you have a group discussion board link that is now available here. And so you'll click on that. It'll be able to identify which group you're in, and you'll post to your group discussion board rather than to the big discussion board. So I really appreciate you taking this class. I hope that you will do your job and help me make it better. So if I have helped with this video, let me know. If things are confusing and the class is horrible so far, I've told you I have a pretty thick skin. Let me know what I can do better. So thank you and goodbye for now.